Hi, welcome to Dorm Room Sports Podcast, episode 11. I've got stuff to talk about. I've got hockey to talk about. We're going to talk about the Stanley Cup, and then I actually have Leafs stuff to talk about because I haven't talked about the Leafs in so long. The last time I talked about the Leafs, losses happened and all that great stuff, so I'm going to be able to talk about some blue and white news that's not necessarily great, but it's not terrible either. So we're going to talk about Stanley Cup final first. Game 4 happened last night, Boston and St. Louis. I watched a good chunk of the game, which was a bad idea because I was up really early this morning. I'm tired. I'm running on caffeine, which is not unusual for me. So we're going to get through this. Game 4 happened. St. Louis, right from the get-go, was incredible. They were incredible. They were banging bodies. They were going hard. They were on the puck first, out-shooting Boston, outplaying Boston, getting more chances. Right away, at 19:17 of the first period, not even a minute in, Ryan O'Reilly, the local boy, wrap around and scores. St. Louis was pressuring hard. Vince Dunn on net, misses, wrap around, scores. It's 1-0. Awesome, great. St. Louis on the board first. That's what we wanted. Everybody was like, oh, Boston's going to go up 3-1. You can't catch them when you go up 3-1. You're not against a normal team. You're up against the St. Louis Blues. The St. Louis Blues do not shy away. They've got guys on this team that are big. They are strong. They will take St. Louis to the grave with them. Like, they will go full out to get the job done, and that's what they did tonight. And I honestly think that going into Boston, St. Louis has the edge. If St. Louis can get on the board first, there's a chance here. There really, really is, and I don't shy away from that opinion. I'm sticking to it. 1-0 right away. Boston comes back, scores 1-1. Tarasenko on the power play off a rebound from Pietrangelo, 2-1. The crowd rocking after every single goal. Boston comes back on the penalty kill. Binnington almost gets it. He almost got it. And it deflected off his skate it's a whole 2-2. Tie game. Now, the tie game part doesn't really represent just how strong this game was for St. Louis. That was all in the first period, by the way. This is all 2-2 after the end of one period. Going into the second, it was all St. Louis the entire time. St. Louis was on the body all second period. They talked about it in the intermission. St. Louis going. The Boston Bruins had nothing on them. Now, everybody says Boston Bruins are big, tough, and strong. When you really look at it, it's a little showy and not really as tough as they like to seem, or at least compared to St. Louis. Boston has some guys that are big and strong, sure. They've got Zdeno Chara, who's 42 and is still a Hulk. But, it's still very evenly matched, and I would give the toughness and the strength in terms of depth to St. Louis any day of the week. And they showed it in the second period and the third period. Every single line for St. Louis was rolling. Every single line. Ryan O'Reilly going. All their big boys were going hard. Tyler Bozak skating really well. He'll always be a Leaf. It's weird to see him in a different jersey. I'm really happy he's on a team where they're in the final. He deserves it more than anybody. They showed his family. He was pumped. Whole thing. It was great. The entire second period was all them dominant. I watched the tail end of it and then the third. In the third, St. Louis, again, banging bodies, getting deep, getting pucks to the net. Beautiful shot on. I can't remember. It escapes me who took the initial shot. On net, Rask. Bad rebound. Ryan O'Reilly sitting there second of the game. Crowd goes bonkers. 3-2. Big goal. Big goal. 8 minutes and change left in the third. 3-2. Boston panicking. Also, side note, Zdeno Chara took a puck to the face in the second, comes back in the third with a fishbowl cage on, doesn't play the third period. He's on the bench. Reevaluated for game 5. That's a big loss. I think it's going to rattle the team. Also Noel Acciari, apparently I butchered that. He will be out for He was out early as well. I did not see that injury. All I heard on the actual broadcast that he's out. I haven't checked fully into that injury, or what the reason why he's leaving. Obviously, assuming an injury. Didn't look into what the injury was, but he's out. Two big pieces are out of that lineup. Zdeno Chara being the captain, big piece out. I think that with him out, more and more pressure on that first line to produce. Like I said, going into the playoffs, Boston's very first line focused when other components are gone. Very first line focused. Somehow they've made it this far with that one line and not a hell of a lot of depth. But they're here, but it shows, like I said, without those pieces, it starts to really wear away. I'd love to see what would have happened if Marchand was out or Pastrnak was out, how much that would affect. Bergeron or Pastrnak was out, and it showed in how they played earlier on, first round, I think, against the Leafs. One of them was out, and it really, really showed. So, continuing, third period, Boston really trying to scramble, but you could honestly tell they weren't getting into the zone. They weren't getting chances. They were outshot heavily by St. Louis, and in the end, Braden Shen steals it at the blue line, put it into the net. The crowd goes nuts. Gloria fills the building, and they win 4-2. The big takeaways from this game is just how much St. Louis, how relentless St. Louis is. I could find the wording. How relentless St. Louis is. It's incredible. Everybody honestly was doubting them. A lot of people were doubting them, saying that, Boston's going to win this game. Boston's the better team. They're going to win the cup when they go back for Game 5. Look, it's 2-2. Best of 3 now. If they go into Boston, score early on, that crowd goes silent so quickly. They're all like, we're so passionate for our team. Watch what happens when they're scored on early. That's dead silent. It's up to the team. It's up to the team to really erupt and get the crowd into it. It's not like the crowd helping getting the team into it. Honestly, if I were to compare the crowd in Boston in terms of that kind of playoff aspect, Game 2, Raptors and Warriors. You watch that game, for example, fourth quarter especially, I was watching that whole game, crowd's dead silent. Crowds are a big part. And obviously, getting back to hockey, Boston's crowd is they waver a little bit. They don't get really, they waver. They really, if their team's down, they're not super as much jumping and getting their team into it as they should be. Once their team scores, yeah, sure, let's go. But if their team's not really in it, they're not trying to help them, But I could be wrong, but that's just what I've seen in every game that I've watched. They're not very, they're very power-driven in a way, if that makes any sense. So going into Game 5, St. Louis gets on the board early. If they get the W, come back to St. Louis for Game 6. That crowd is jumping. That crowd is crazy. That momentum will thrust them forward, and Binnington will hopefully be a wall in the next 2 games, and we could see something happen. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say you never say what could happen after Game 6 if everything goes well. You don't use the jinx. Never, ever. The thing would happen. Now, with that summarized, let's talk a bit about the Leafs. Now, several things have happened. We're going to talk about the not the sad things, but the things that aren't the Mitch Marner contract. Patrick Marleau decides to step aside from the Leafs and go back to California. Now, honestly, I was shocked about this because he's got a home here. He's got all of his sons were going to school, and I thought they made a lot of friends. I thought this was going to be their permanent home. I thought if he retired, he would stay here. But apparently they're a lot more homey in California. I guess that's where all the kids were born and all of that. So I think they're going back to California, obviously, for the family, and I respect that fully. And I think if an NHLer is going to have to go home and have to go to go to where he's comfortable. If it's California, it's California. Go home. Like, Leafs Nation, I totally respect whatever Patrick Marleau does. I respect his decision to do what's best for his family. He was incredible here. Obviously, he's not watching this video, but thank you, Patrick. You were great for the team. He was a great role model. I would have had him. He was in my top 5 to be a captain for the team. He played incredibly well while he was here, and I think that he's got at least 3 or 4 more years left in him for sure. People can doubt me on that. I think he's got at least 3 more years here. He's being looked at by Arizona or by LA. I see him going to LA, honestly. I think they could use a little bit of veteran leadership. They don't have a lot, obviously Doughty and Kopitar, but they're not super vet yet. And Nikita Zaitsev asked for a trade. Nobody knows really the reason why he wants a trade. Maybe it's the pressure of the team. I've heard other things about him not liking Don Cherry, him not liking, like as I said just earlier, about the pressure that brings in the Leafs. Honestly, looking at him, he was expensive. He was one of our only right-handed defensemen, though, and the Leafs are oddly really lacking that. Honestly, looking back at it, he's been an interesting piece to the puzzle for the Leafs. There are points where I wanted to scream about him, and there are other points where, like, I'm happy to have him. He's a very iffy player. He's gone. Obviously, he's going to be gone because he wants a trade. I'd love to see Gardner go as well, because Gardner, if I have to yell about him in another playoff game, I'm going to lose my mind. I can't handle it. And I kept composed after what happened in Game 7. Perfect pass, by the way, Gardner, right off the board. It's perfect. But I'm going to be referencing that all the time. But I think that Gardner needs to go. Zaitsev's gone. Marleau stepped away. Now, to the contract from Marner, honestly, I don't know if anybody's heard about the Marner jar. They talked about it. Every time somebody talks about the Marner contract, you donate money and it goes to sick kids. Steve Dangle talked about it on his YouTube channel. I don't know if anybody knows who that is. He's one of the guys like I watch. He's great. I'd like to mention that there's like a marnerjar.com, and you donate money. I'd love to see them bring that back up more, because with this contract thing, they could be making so much money for that charity. But anyways, back to the contract. They've been offer sheeting. They've been looking at offer sheets from other teams about contracts that they would offer him in case he decides to look another way. The odds of him signing somewhere else are so slim. Like, look at the relationship he's built with the city. He's playing for his hometown team. He was drafted by his hometown team. Like, come on. Who in their right mind would go away from a team that's stacked, is going to hopefully do better next year in the playoffs? Like, there's no reason for him to go anywhere, so everybody's got to relax. I've been worried because, like, imagine if he went somewhere else. Like, Toronto would lose their mind. But honestly, he's not going to go anywhere. He'll sign $10 million neighborhood, maybe a bit less. Maybe they'll look at a a hometown discount. Honestly, basically a neighborhood discount. He grew up 20 minutes from the arena, basically. 20 minutes, half an hour from the arena. Like, there's no reason why you wouldn't sign here. He's going to sign here. Everybody relax. Go about your business. We'll be hearing about it soon enough. The next video I make on the Stanley Cup Final, I'll probably have a champion to talk about. I will have hopefully some more Leafs news or some more hockey news in general. Because talking about two teams now, this is really getting down to the nitty gritty. I'll probably end up talking about some other sports over the summer just to fill in. I want to talk about the Raptors, but I don't know a lot about basketball. But I've really been enjoying it. I've been picking up on it a lot more. Obviously, I want to be able to expand further down the road about other sports, because just talking about hockey, there's other sports people are obviously interested in, and I want to be able to take care of them. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. Click a like if you liked it. Click subscribe. Tell all your friends, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.